Hi guys, Human Century here and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be doing a look at all of the new Series 7 stories, and because we did the classic Series 7 stories last week, so yeah, let's get into this. So, last place we have Nightmare in Silver. Now, Nightmare in Silver came out in the 7th season of the show, which is the most arguably kind of debated show. I mean, the time of the show, it was the season where people were kind of unsure because there were some good stories, there were some bad stories, and then there was the Day of the Doctor kind of thing. But this story was written by Neil Gaiman, who's already wrote The Doctor's Wife, and it was very good. And it was a really good story, so people thought, going into this, that maybe the Simon and Neil Gaiman would be quite a good pair. It really wasn't. He wrote he tried to bring the Cybermen back, but change up the design, because we saw them in season 6 a bit and season 5, but he was going for like a new design, and the design worked well enough. But I think, unfortunately, a draw of a story like this is the same as a draw of a story like Earthshock or Rise of Cybermen Age of Steel, where there's a new design, and so people would draw to that story to see, oh, the new Cybermen design. But the thing is, if people come to the story to look at this new Cybermen design, but there's no story there, then they're going to watch it once, think it was pretty bad, and then never watch it ever again. But I think the worst part about this story is maybe not the Cybermen themselves, but more the overall idea of these Cybermen. Because in this story, it seems that every single time that the Cybermen get attacked by something, Clara seems to do a lot, leads this kind of story a little bit, as Matt Smith's doing his own thing. He's definitely in it, he's quite prominent, but she's kind of leading the remaining troops left to attack the Cybermen. But every single time the Cybermen seem to be hit or stopped, they seem to just adapt to the situation, which is a cool concept, as that means that the Cybermen can adapt to each situation that they're in, but it doesn't really seem to work in execution. Next, we have the Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children. Now, this one and the next part I was not sure to do, because they're not my favourite stories. Both of these two parts, the one that's this one and the next one, are both not my favourite. But Ascension of the Cybermen is the only reason this one's maybe above Nightmare in Silver. Ascension of the Cybermen is a pretty good story for what it is. It's got interesting concept. I enjoy the idea of the humans kind of being far and few between, and they're trying to find this kind of promised land, a bit like Season 8, where they're looking for a kind of safe haven from the Cybermen. And I think the Cybermen are quite good in this. I don't think in Ascension of the Cybermen, the Brendan storyline really worked very well, and that was a bit confusing. But then the Timeless Children ruins it completely. First off, the Cybermen seem to be downplayed by the Master, because the Master appears at the end of the Ascension of the Cybermen, so in this he becomes more of the main villain. Later on, the Ashad, who we've seen haunting a Villa Dialati, which we'll get onto, he kills the Ashad pretty much instantly, which is a bit of an underwhelming, considering Ashad was kind of looking to be kind of the final villain of the series, if you know what I mean. And the Timeless Children arc didn't help at all. I think I'm not a fan of the Timeless Children arc, and maybe in another video I'll explain more into it why I think it doesn't work. But it didn't work for me that much, so yeah. Then we get into number 7, which is Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Now, this was the other one that I wasn't sure about, and the reason I wasn't sure about this one is it has to go on this list, and when I do my Dalek one eventually, it will go on the Daleks one. However, neither the Daleks nor the Cybermen have much strengths, so Army of Ghosts is a pretty good first part, and it does kind of keep this one together, similar to Ascension of the Cybermen. It does keep the story together, and I enjoy the reveal of the Daleks being in it, since we already knew the Cybermen were in it at the beginning, like more or less a couple of minutes before. It was like, oh my god, they're finally on screen together in the same story, kind of a thing. But what happened in Doomsday didn't kind of meet up to the expectations that Army of Ghosts had kind of had, and also the whole expectation of the Daleks and the Cybermen finally converging into a battle. Mainly because in this story, the Daleks are important, which sounds a bit of a stupid idea, or something stupid, but in the story, the Daleks have names, they're part of the cult of Skaro, rather than just being normal Daleks. So it means the Cybermen can't destroy the Daleks because they're important in terms of the writing, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. So it means that it looks, as a viewer's from a viewer's perspective, that the Cybermen are significantly weaker than the Daleks, which they're not. I think if there was an actual normal battle, the Cybermen would probably lose to the Daleks, but would hold their own for a significant period of time before they had to either retreat or get destroyed. And second of all, the Daleks in this, which I'm not going to go too much because I need to leave that from everyone, not amazing in this. So overall, there's not really many redeeming qualities to Doomsday, and I mean, Rose in this is not fun either. So, but in terms of the Cybermen, it's just unfair how they get downplayed by the Daleks, especially how you think that the Daleks would be at least a little bit afraid of the Cybermen, in the sense that the Cybermen are a big threat in all the stories they've been in before and are featuring most of the time. But then we go on to 6, which is the Next Doctor, which is I don't know, it's a slightly better story than Army of Ghosts and Doomsday by a bit. I think that what helps this story is it's slightly longer than a standard episode because it's the Christmas special, but it's not as long as a 2-parter. So it means that although it feels more like a good pace, it's a bit longer than a standard episode, otherwise it might feel a bit rushed. But it's not too long where it feels like it's just drawn out. However, I think the issue with this one becomes it does feel like it kind of is a bit rushed, because the whole idea of this story is that there's another person called the Doctor, and David Tennant's surprised to see another Doctor, but the Doctor his memory's clouded, and it turns out that he's not actually the Doctor, and he's somehow come across this stamp of the Doctor, and he became the Doctor somehow. But what doesn't work is they tell you this quite quickly and quite early on, so it feels like the rest of the story isn't focused on that as much, so it's not as interesting, because he kind of just gets shunned to the side, and then the Doctor gets the main stage, which isn't a bad thing, because I mean, he was kind of like, you know, the Doctor. But I think the reveal at the end, when he sees the child and the child calls him Dad, would have been a more interesting way to reveal that he wasn't actually Jackson Lake, or he was Jackson Lake rather than the Doctor. Or even just before they go into battle and he decides, no, well, I might not be the Doctor, but I'm still, I'm still, I might not be the Doctor, but I'm still like a Doctor or something like that. And he kind of saves the day rather than doing it so early on. Also, I think the idea of the big Cyber King doesn't work, so it's just all around not an amazing story, but it's like not the awful either. Next we got on to number 5, which is where we get to some okay stories. We got The Haunting of Villa Diodati, a genuinely creepy story. Ashad the Cyberman doesn't actually come into this until maybe the last quarter of the story, maybe last third of the story, so it makes it more tense as you're not really sure what's going on, and there's something else in the house, and it's kind of creepy, and it's not the scariest story ever, but it is a bit, you know, I'm not really sure what's going on. I do like the kind of historical side of this story. I think the historical side of this story and the historical characters in season 12 were definitely handled a lot better, in my opinion, than the season 11, especially in Rosa, which I've never been kind of a fan of Rosa. But yeah, it works like this. I like the characters in this. I think Mary Shelley and the rest of them were all quite good in this story. But then in fourth place we have Darkwater, Death in Heaven. This is Capaldi's first Cybermen story and also his first season finale. Similar to The Timeless Children, this one is downplayed a bit because the Cybermen are second to the Master. However, I think in this one it works significantly better because in Ascension, the Cybermen, Timeless Children, for the past 2 episodes we've been following the Cybermen in that one, and then in the Timeless Children the Master becomes the focus. But in this, the Master has been the focus throughout the season, and we've been trying to figure out who it is. But then this kind of reveal happens, and it's quite big. It does make the Cybermen feel downplayed, as I said, because they are not the centre threat, and I think that's an issue with the new series. I think there's one story, or one or two stories, where the Cybermen are downplayed by another villain full on, and I think that's why the Cybermen maybe aren't as loved as they might be from the classic run. Because in the classic run, the Cybermen were only on screen with another villain maybe it's 2 times, I think. It was in Silver Nemesis when there's other villains, and in the 5 Doctors when there was the Daleks and the robots and the Yeti and all that. But other than that, in the classic series, they were always just the main focus of the story, the main villain of the story. There might have been other side villains, but they were the main villain. Which is why these stories sometimes don't work as well. However, I think this one I can get a pass, because I think the Master in this is great. The Cybermen actually do serve a good purpose, and they make sense in the term of the story, and they are part of the solution, which is quite interesting. But overall, it's a great story, but it is kind of, not amazing. And third, we have Closing Time. Now, this is one where I did say before, there's only 2 stories where they don't get downplayed. Now, this is an odd one, because these ones, they don't get downplayed as much. However, they do get downplayed by themselves. What I mean by that is, in some of the stories, they're a threat, and obviously they're a big threat. But in this, the premise of the story is that the Cybermen have been damaged under the ship, and they're trying to regain power. But because they've been damaged and they're under the ship, it does look like they are a bit weaker, so they've kind of downplayed themselves a little bit, which is a fine story, because I think the Cybermen, I've always liked the Cybermen where they're desperation, they're trying to survive, and this is what they are doing, they are trying to survive. But it makes them feel downplayed, and also how, although I do love the Cybermats, I think the Cybermats are a cool thing in the Cybermen, and it would make sense that they'd have reconnaissance, because they are quite loud, the Cybermen. But it works in this one. However, I think maybe it could have been executed better. However, I think this one's a good story for what it is. I think the reason I put it so high is maybe because Matt Smith is great in this. He's hilarious in this. I've never it's not that I don't like Amy and Rory. I think they're great companions. But I've always liked Matt without a companion, or with like Clara. I think that he works better with them, with Clara, or without a companion, which is why I do like The Lodger and Closing Time so much. So I think that's probably why this one's maybe higher up, because I do like this one. But in second place we have the Age of Cybermen, Age of Steel. Now this was the first of 2 where the Cybermen aren't downplayed a little bit, because these ones are, in this story, it's the first time they're in the revival era, and Russell T Davies, rather than similar to the Daleks or Master, he didn't bring them back as the same. He changed the Cybermen's backstory up, so these are a different kind of line of Cybermen. But because that meant in the other parallel universe, only the Doctor knew about the Cybermen, he was the only one who could try and stop them, and it made more sense, because I think it possibly might have, Mickey, because he said he researched all of his stuff on Unit, he might have found out about the Cybermen and he would have recognised what they look like. So I think it made more sense to bring them in a parallel universe. I also think they're more of a threat here. And I did say before they weren't downplayed, you could say that John Lumick downplayed them a little bit because he was like their leader, but he does become a Cyberman himself, so it makes more sense. Also, I think what's good about this is we always hear about the Cybermen converting and changing their pods to become more, to survive, especially in the 10th planet and the moon base and so on. But we actually see them converting people that we know. I mean, it does happen again later on in Army Ghost Doomsday, but in this we do see them convert people in the story that we've seen as a human, which is quite a dark concept, but it's interesting because we have heard of this off screen, but we've never actually seen it happen. In two of the Cybermen, they say they're going to convert some of them. So, I mean, this is like actually going through with it. But then in number one, in my opinion, not only is it my favourite classic story, not my favourite new series story, but my favourite Cyberman story, World Enough for Time and The Doctor Falls. This is Capaldi's second to last appearance, and it's a great story. Now, I want to give this, I think I need to give this story props for the Cybermen, because in this story, not only are the Cybermen facing against the Doctor, they are also, not only are they, like, you know, they're facing against the Doctor, which is obviously the big thing, but not only is Michelle Gomez in this as the Master, but John Sim is in this as the Master. So you think, well, the Master downplayed them maybe once or twice before, and once or twice in the future. So you just hope, you go, oh, well, you've said that they don't get downplayed in this story. They don't. The Cybermen are more of a threat in this story than Missy and the Master. Maybe in the first part, the Master, so John Sim's Master is more of a threat, but then once the Cybermen come in the Doctor Falls, they are the threat. The Masters, both of them, are terrified that the Cybermen will try and kill them. However, they are not trying to show it. I think Bill's great in this. In the first part, Bill is amazing in this part. I am a bit upset that Capaldi didn't get more time to shine in the first part, but it makes sense because we get to see Bill go through life without the Doctor a little bit in this world that she doesn't know. And then at the end, we get the shocking reveal that she was the first Mondasian Cyberman, and the Mondasians are back, and the Masters have joined forces as Missy's trying to do a character arc where she's becoming a bit good, and she does kind of waver a little bit in the story when meeting her former self. And it's great storytelling. Second part, the Doctor kind of goes to this out that random place, and he's with Bill, and Bill, because of and it links into the monks a little bit. Because of the monks, Bill kind of blocks the Cybermen stuff out of her, but everyone else sees her as a Cyberman, is afraid of her, and the Doctor knows that Bill's already too far gone. He can't save Bill. He knows that she's gone forever and he can't save her. And you can see he's generally quite sad about it. The Masters, again, are quite good in this. The Doctor is great speeches in this. His speech about where he stands to the Masters is amazing. And the best part is probably the end, though, because it rounds out his character. Because in Season 8, he's kind of in that Kill the Moon, he kind of leaves and tells Clara to make the decision on his own. He's more of a risky Doctor. He doesn't really know if he's a good man. That's his whole arc. In Season 9, he becomes more reckless with what he does. He kind of does things where he knows he can't do that, but he just ignores it, a bit like the Time Lord Victorious, where he kind of brings Clara back even though he's not allowed to, kind of a thing. And then in Season 10, it kind of rounds out that arc where he doesn't know if the children that he saves are going to survive. He doesn't know if Nardell's going to get them to safety. He just tries anyway, because if he falls, he falls. But if there's even a chance that he can save those people, he will try. But yeah, that's just been my look at all of the 9 stories of the new series. If you have enjoyed this video, please thinking about liking and subscribing, and watch some other videos. But yeah, see ya.